Welcome to the Symprio signal. I'm Maya.
And I'm Alex. So, what's on the docket for us today, Maya? I'm already a little scared by the title of the blog post.
Yeah, it's a bit of a curveball. There's a new piece on the Symprio blog called Singapore Makes About 82 Babies a Day, but it's not about demographics.
Right. Of course it isn't. So what is it actually about?
It's about how the speed of AI model releases has fundamentally changed, and why that makes choosing a model a huge risk for companies, especially regulated ones. The whole thing kicks off with this comparison.
Wait, what? Babies and AI models? That's the weirdest lead-in I've ever heard. Is it a joke?
It's a hook. The Post puts two reports side by side. One is Singapore's birth rate, which is at a record low. The other is the release schedule for frontier AI models. The point is the difference in their generation cycles.
Generation cycles? Okay, you've lost me. How do you even measure that?
For humans, it's the median age of a first time mother. For AI, it's the time between one top tier model being available and the next. So for Singapore, that's about 32 years. For Google's Gemini 3.5 Flash to 3.6 Flash, it was about 63 days.
Hang on. 63 days? That's 2 months. That can't be right.
It is. The Post does the math. The AI frontier turns over a generation about 186 times faster than Singapore does. The whole point is that the clock for this technology is unbelievably fast, and we're building systems like the clock is slow.
Okay, that's a pretty stark image. But I feel like I've been hearing that AI development is slowing down, that all these labs are getting more careful.
That's the comfortable story, but the data the article points to doesn't back it up. Labs like Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, DeepSeek, they've all released multiple flagship models this year. They haven't stopped shipping.
So the narrative is wrong. But if they're releasing all these models, why is it a risk? Shouldn't more choice be a good thing?
Because how they ship has changed. They're putting up gates. The Post cites a tracker from a firm called Axis Intelligence Research. In one 3 month period, almost two-thirds of new flagship models didn't become generally available on the day they were announced.
What do you mean gates? Like a paywall?
Not exactly. It could be a limited preview for partners, a requirement to prove your identity, a geographic restriction, or even an export control. The small, simpler models shipped instantly, but the top tier stuff, the frontier models, are now often released behind a wall of some kind.
Okay, I see. So an announcement doesn't mean you can actually use it. But a few weeks delay, is that really a procurement problem? That just seems like a marketing thing.
It's more than a few weeks, and it's more than a delay. The article gives some concrete examples. Anthropic released a model with a safety classifier. If you ask it something tricky, it secretly routes your request to an older, less capable model.
It what? Without telling you? That's sneaky.
Right. Then there was another model from them that got suspended for 18 days to comply with a US export control directive. No warning. It was just gone. And OpenAI put a new model behind a preview for selected partners before anyone else could get it. Another Google model was announced and then just never arrived.
Whoa. Let me get this straight. You're telling me a model I'm building my business on could just disappear for a few weeks because of a foreign government, or secretly downgrade my query, or never even become real?
That's exactly it. And if you're a regulated enterprise, that's a massive problem. If your workflow goes dark for 18 days, what happens to your service level agreement? If a classifier changes the model mid session, that's a governance event you probably can't even detect.
I thought this was a problem for big tech companies, not for a bank in Malaysia or Singapore.
The Malaysian take in the article is really interesting. It points out that Malaysia is on the same demographic curve as Singapore, just a few years behind. A shrinking workforce means we're going to rely more and more on AI and automation just to get things done.
So we become more dependent on these models, not less. That makes the risk bigger, right?
Exactly. And you have the regulatory overlay. Bank Negara Malaysia's RMI guidelines expect you to manage your third party dependencies. The PDPA has rules about where data can be processed. If a model can be rerouted silently to a provider outside Malaysia, you might have a compliance problem you don't even know about.
Okay, so you've painted a pretty grim picture. The models are unreliable, the availability is a policy variable, and the regulators are watching. What's the solution? Just not use them?
No, the article is clear it's not about avoiding them, it's about changing how you build with them. It's what we do at Symprio. You stop treating a model ID like a stable piece of infrastructure. You have to architect for this faster clock.
How? What does that actually look like in practice?
The post lays out a few principles. First, you never ever bind a workflow directly to a single model ID. You use an abstraction layer, a router. You declare a primary model, a secondary one, and a sovereign fallback, a model hosted locally, like ILMU on the YTL AI cloud.
So if my US model goes dark, my system automatically fails over to a local one. That's clever.
And you have to log everything. You need to know which specific model actually answered a request, not just the answer itself, for governance reasons. And you should be right-sizing your model use. Don't use the flagship model for a simple task like data extraction. That's where your risk is highest. Use a smaller, more stable model for that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's about accepting the volatility and building a system that can handle it. It's resilience engineering, but for model providers.
Precisely. And the sovereign fallback isn't a compliance checkbox. It's a live, tested path. You have to actually use it sometimes to know it works, because you don't want to find out it's broken during an 18-day outage.
Right. Test your recovery plan before you need it. Classic. So, if I'm a listener and this is making me sweat a little, what's the one thing I should go and check on Monday morning?
The article ends with 3 questions that are perfect for that. Do you know the specific model IDs your production workflows depend on today? Could you tell a regulator exactly which model made a given decision? And if your primary provider vanished tomorrow, what happens?
Oof. If the answer to any of those is a long pause, you've got a finding. I get it. It's like finding out you built your house on a fault line. You can't ignore it.
A very, very fast moving fault line.
A hyperactive fault line. All right, I think I'm convinced. My takeaway is that announced and available are no longer the same thing, and that treating a model as a reliable utility is a mistake. You have to plan for it to be unreliable.
Exactly. And the thing I'd hold on to is that this isn't a reason to avoid AI, it's a reason to build for resilience. You need a plan B, C, and D, and one of them should be local. Your architecture can't be single-threaded anymore.
So for a CTO listening, this means stop hard-coding GPT-00 editor into your code. Start thinking about a routing table with backup options. You're basically future-proofing against a foreign government's policy decisions.
You could put it that way. We've really just scratched the surface here. The post on Symprio.com goes into the specific examples of the gates and the Symprio architectural approach in much more detail.
Yeah, definitely go read that. And if you know someone on your tech team who's arguing about which single AI model to bet the company on, send this to them. It might change the entire conversation.
It probably will. The full post is on Symprio.com.
Thanks for walking me through that, Maya. That was genuinely eye-opening.
You're welcome, Alex. Thanks for listening. For Maya, I'm Alex, and you've been listening to the Symprio Signal.
See you next time.